Yeah, yeah, yeah. Welcome to the block, where the real ones speak. Sports Talk 49, no cap, no weak. Real facts, strip the fluff, no spin. If it's hot in the league, yeah, we tap right in. Overreaction, yeah, we lean all in. One play, one take, let the chaos begin. From the mic to the screen, bringing truth, no fantasy. Hosted by Blake Anthony, voice of the fan, no fallacy. Fans yelling loud, opinions collide. Love it or hate it, ain't nowhere to hide. You're the master of life, how you use it is key. Sports Talk 49, now lock in with me, yeah.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another session of Sports Talk 49. I'm Blake Anthony, and this is the legend, Al Keck. If you don't know who Al is, I'll give you a quick synopsis real quick. Al Keck is a two-time Emmy Award-winning American sports television and radio broadcaster. He is mostly widely recognized for his decades-long career as prominent sports media figure in the Tampa Bay, Florida region. Al, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. How are you, Blake?
Good. Football is back, baby. So that's
about time. It is about time.
And you know, we're going to be right on here talking about it. So, Bucs have a little game last night. And you got preseason contract disputes. You got a lot going on right now around the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Where would you like to start? You want to start with the game, or you want to start with?
Yeah, let's start with the game.
Contracts? Yeah.
We talked about it briefly off camera, but what impressed me now, obviously, they're playing the Jets, so it's really hard to gauge, what they are. But I liked the way that as the game progressed, they competed. Now, again, they're competing with guys and against guys that chances are will not be in the league this year. But there are a few people here and there that I think yesterday was like and so you put up a situation like that and you show that when you get an opportunity and the lights come on and the camera is, you got that red light on, that you can play. And I think a guy like the quarterback for the Bucs, Daniels, came in, was faced with certain situations. He made some big plays on third downs and a couple of fourth downs. And I thought he played very well. And I think, again, he may have played to the point to where he's going to be on someone's roster come, the opening week. And I think the kid can play. He was very impressed. He put up decent numbers at Kansas. And, which is, you're playing in a big-time conference there. So I think the kid showed that he can play. He reminds me of Sean King.
Yes, he did. He had a lot of similarities to the late, great Sean King, as you can see right there on screen. Wears the same number too, Al.
Yeah.
And I see what you're talking about. The mechanics, the throw, their scrambling ability. It was just several different things that his mechanics just looked the same. And they just looked just as smooth as Sean too in the pocket. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
He had throwing the work done and Mike Allstott and the boys, but it's just a lot of similarities.
Absolutely. And, what I liked about him is that he can, Daniels can use not only his arm, but also his legs. And he was just, very poised, very confident. He looked like he belonged and wasn't overtaken by the opportunity. And so I like what I saw. And he's going to be on someone's roster. He's a guy that I would, could certainly come into this league and develop. And who knows, put up, maybe get an opportunity to start in the right situation after injuries. And you just never know what can happen. But I like what I saw there.
Yeah, and I think the thing you take away the most from that is when Bazelak came in, because the Jets played, I think, their starters on defense. They played their starters against Bazelak. And like you said, Bazelak looked frazzled. He didn't look like in rhythm, in sync. The minute Daniels came in, that's what me and Al are talking about. Like, Al's been around the game a long time. When you're around this game, you could tell things right away with certain people. And what we're talking about is when Daniels came in, it was from the start to finish. he looked like he'd been starting the whole game. I said there was no panic, commanded the huddle, had the guys locked in to what they were supposed to be doing. And if you look at some of those plays, I was just showing you, I'll show you some more here. They were all on big downs. It's like 2nd and 13s, slings it right in there for a first down between two defenders. Those are big time throws. And that play, he had a defender at his feet throwing, so you couldn't step into the throw. Look at that. The pocket's closing. You deliver a ball between two defenders for a first down. Like I said, like Al said, it's a preseason game, but you got to take what was given to you in this game.
Not only that, but again, he's got people surrounding him that chances are will not be in the, on any roster, come opening day, but he was still able to make plays, and he kind of made everybody else around him better and was able to drive down the field and get some key points. I like what I saw from the kid, and I think he showed that if he gets an opportunity, he's the kind of kid that can make the most of it. And who knows what can happen. I remember Sean. I remember Sean in high school at Gibbs High School, and watching him then he goes on to Tulane. And had great success there. So we'll see what Daniels can do. I'm sure he's going to get, more opportunities in this preseason. And I'd be very interested to see what Daniels can do with behind the starting offensive line and the weapons. How can he, handle this offense leading the starters? And I'd be very interested to see that. And I think, from what I saw yesterday, he would be able to handle everything. And again, those lights are not too bright. That said, they're playing the Jets, but still, you can't control who your opponent is. When you get the opportunity, you have to do whatever you can to make the most of that opportunity. And he did last night.
Definitely, what's the old phrase? You got to turn chicken shit into chicken salad. He definitely made some salad last night. Going 10 for 15, 111 yards. I want to see more, and I'm sure everybody wants to see more too. Like I said, the kid looks like he has a great attitude. Look like he's taking in everything. Now, granted, let's not take out this part. I almost forgot. Like I think he played 6 years in college, so you kind of got a lot of starter reps behind you playing quarterback on the competitive level. So I think that kind of helps too, and how you should prepare for games and things like that. And also coming in and showing like he looked like he was a veteran almost instead of a rookie.
What I liked with that is, again, I want to see him with the starters, in a preseason game. They got Kansas City coming up in a preseason game. So, I'm sure Baker will probably, take a series or two to begin with. And then bring him in with those same starters and same offensive line, same weapons, and just see what happens. And that, to me, that's the price of admission, to just see the preseason game number 2 against Kansas City, to see how he handles this. And I'm optimistic for the kid. I think the kid can play. And the main thing is, if you are a backup quarterback, the only time you're going to be in a game is, replacing someone with an injury or something negative has probably happened. So if you can go into that and still make some things happen with, all kinds of different pressures and some negative stuff going on, and if you can still move that offense, then that's a good sign that he can have success in this league.
Definitely. That is something to think about. I wonder if the Bucs are thinking about it. You bring a great point there, Al. Like you said, you're not going to have, after these next 2 games, there's only 3 preseason games, other than in practice, with live bullets, you're not going to see a backup quarterback playing against other team starters. That is a good point, Al. So you need to find out, in case Baker Mayfield sustains some type of injury, are you confident that you can put this guy in against another team game planning against him, and he's able to be somewhat productive to have the offense produce points to keep you competitive in games. And that's what you want to know coming in. And if Daniels is that guy, well, I think you need to put him to the test next week against the Chiefs, against the starters.
Yeah, it's a good point. And I mean, the main thing is, again, he's not only showing the opposing team he can do some things. He can show his teammates he can do some things. Mm-hmm. And they then go, okay, we've got Daniels coming in. I know he's not Baker, but he's coming in and he can play some football. So you get confidence from that. You give your teammates confidence that it's not the worst thing in the world if you've got to come in and play, because you've shown you can handle this spotlight. And he did that yesterday.
Absolutely. I think we're both in agreement on that. Now, I want to see more.
Mm-hmm.
We want more. Are you not entertained? I sure was. I think we hit everything on Daniels pretty much. I think everybody's pleased. I think everybody in Tampa wants to see more of Daniels. I think all the fans, after they saw that, after they saw Bazelak to that, I think everybody wants to see more of Daniels. So I don't know. So we'll see. We will see.
I noticed that, in watching the game, I thought, I had made some notes and I thought, he can do this. And again, he made big plays on key downs.
Yep.
And that shows your team and your teammates and your coaching staff that you can handle this. And, that impressed me. And now, hopefully, I'd just love to see what he can do with the starters. And, Baker is as tough as they come. And we know he's had to play hurt. And, he received some criticism last year because he wasn't as good, especially later in the year, as he had been in previous years. And that's not all on Baker, No,
not all of it.
He was in situations to where he knew he had to score points because the defense just wasn't getting it done. So he knew he had to build up the biggest pile of points he possibly could and go from there. So, Baker's so-called down second half of last year didn't bother me because I kind of understood what was going on and what he was trying to accomplish and everything. And I'm a Baker fan, and he has certainly proven, that he's as tough and he can make plays. And he's, I enjoy watching Baker.
Yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan at first coming out of Cleveland, the way his immaturity was. He even said himself he had to mature. And once he did that, I started to fall in love with the guy and his competitiveness and all that. And I like how you segued into that, because I think with that fall of the second half of the year, I think if he doesn't have that and has that MVP-like season, the Bucs and me and you and everybody else in the media are not having this conversation about should Baker get that contract extension. I think with that fallout last year is kind of the hesitation with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and everything because of their word about his durability. And he knows he puts himself on the line and stuff like that, but he's got to understand. You got to find ways to find that middle ground where you're trying to spark the team, but yet not put yourself in a position where you're going to hurt the team with you being injured trying to spark the team. What do you think, Al?
Well, here's the thing I like about Baker. He doesn't think twice about putting himself in harm's way. Yeah, that doesn't really enter his mind, in my opinion. I mean, I think when he's playing, he sees, okay, I got to make this play. I got to do this in order to do that. He doesn't think twice. He does it. And we've seen him play through injuries, through, difficult situations. I remember, when he didn't have success in Carolina, ends up going to the Rams and having only a couple days practice, maybe 2, and that's it. And then he came out and had success. This was in a preseason game, but he went out and had success for the Rams. That was a preseason game, wasn't it?
No, that was a live game. That was a live bullets. It was live bullets
and stuff. So that opened my eyes, and he's one. He's done that. He's done that with the Bucs. So I don't. To me, in my opinion, if you have a quarterback that has shown that, and that your teammates believe in this guy. Your coaching staff believes in the guy. There aren't a whole lot of those people. So, I get him signed and make it a fair number to both sides. And I think Baker is smart enough to know the Bucs will probably be the only team that could really give me the payday I want. So to try to make that happen. And if you're the Bucs, I understand that you're going to try to get the best deal you can. And Baker's doing the same. But in the end, when it comes down to it, you don't want to take chances with that because those type of quarterbacks are too hard to find. And I think the best thing about Baker that impressed me, that opened my eyes more than anything else, was that, you're coming off Tom Brady. And he goes in, he comes in and had a competition with Kyle Trask, wins that, and then just goes on from there. And again, he's taking over off after Tom Brady. So with the way he was able to do that, I make him I keep him as my quarterback. And I know you've got a salary, cap and all that kind of stuff that you've got to be mindful of and all that. You still make it work. And I think the Bucs and Baker in the end will make that work.
Yeah, I figure out something. And same thing with Vita Vea. I think both players, and I think it's interesting that they're both having contract disputes, but yet they still put their murals on the side of Raymond James with all this trade talk with Vea and then contract stalls with Baker talking about he's not going to talk about extensions during the season. I found that interesting when all that happened, and they still put up their murals on the side of the Raymond James Stadium. So, they got to figure out something. It's either the Bucs want to get one of these 10 quarterbacks coming out in this draft, or they want to invest in Daniels. They're going to have the decisions to make coming up with this season and off season next year, or at the end of this year.
Well, with Vita Vea, he has been, he was a first-round draft pick for him, and they developed him into what he became. And Vita is the targeted man on that Buccaneer defensive line.
Absolutely.
He's taken, double teams and all that kind of stuff that, he may not, for a nose tackle, he's still able to get to the quarterback,
Absolutely.
Really often. And, they need him to plug down any kind of run game. So, we're here about to enter week 2 of preseason. I think when it all comes down to it, that he'll find a way, that the Bucs will find a way to get both signed. And they both need each other. The Bucs need Vita and the Bucs need Baker. And, guys like Vita Vea are just so hard to find. So when you have a person like that, you do whatever you can to make that happen.
Yeah, it's just, like I said, that clip there is just the guy takes up 2 blocks, gets through the 2 blocks, and still makes a T4L while getting double teamed. Like, that's what you want out of your defensive lineman. Yes, he's 31 years old. But I have this conversation with people all the time because the first thing everybody throws out, well, you got an aging defensive tackle. You got this. I'm like, all right. With that being said, shouldn't his play be decreasing?
Mm-hmm.
Did his play decrease last year? Answer is no. His play didn't decrease. As a matter of fact, his reps went up because of injury and still yet produced, still yet got to the quarterback, still yet stayed on the field healthy and was available for the team when they needed him. And he's been that consistent guy every single year, minus the 1 year where I think he got his ankle broke, and that wasn't none of fault of his own. It was Devin White flying to his leg in Chicago on that primetime game. That wasn't his fault. I said, but other than that, the guy has been constant since he's been drafted. And if he's so old, why is he at the top of his position with guys 5-6 years younger than him?
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
If he does become a free agent, he will have several opportunities to look
at.
God,
yes.
And that's why, you try to draft guys like Vita Vea. So when you have them and when you're able to keep them, you do whatever you can to keep them happy and make sure that he can be as productive as he can, and he is productive. And when you look at this Buccaneer defense, especially last year, and I mean in recent years overall, if they didn't have Vita, what do you think this defense would be? It could really be in trouble. So, get Vita signed, get Baker signed, and just go on from there.
Yep, get it done. I wish it was that simple, but I don't know. Jason Light's got his hands full, so we'll see what's happening. This has dragged on for quite a while now. So, and the other thing is Baker gave a timeline. Van never gave a timeline. So we'll see. And I think go ahead, Al.
Yeah, well, I mean these timelines.
Yeah.
If the Bucs offered, even if it was past the deadline, if the Bucs offered either one of those guys a deal that they were happy with, do you think they're not going to sign because it was after a deadline? I mean,
right.
That's, and the Bucs know that. And so they're just biding their time to try to get the best deal they can. And so is the player. And those things happen. Everybody in the National Football League, every team goes through the same thing. But, bottom line, in Baker's case, if you don't have Baker, where are you going to find another quality starting quarterback? Are you going to go into the draft? And is there a guy there, if you're picking in the middle of round one, that's going to be, far and away better than Baker Mayfield? I just don't see that right now. Now, if it ends up being a bad year and you end up picking in the top 5, that's another thing. But I think Baker's your guy, and I think Vita Vea is your guy defensively. And this franchise needs both of them. And Jason Light's been a pretty smart guy, and he'll get things done from there. And now, going back to Baker, and I can see Baker's point. He's saying, "Look you've gotten me on a dime, ever since I've been here, and I've come through for you. Okay, so." It's time to get some money here. Well, do you want to make him, do you want to pay him $50 million a year and go from there? I don't think the Bucs do. And I think that there is a number that can work for both sides. And you're just trying to do whatever you can to get to that number. And there is no motivation for the Bucs to do it right now. And there's really no motivation for Baker if he doesn't see that number or see a number that he doesn't want, to sign right now. It doesn't have to happen right now. But at the end of training camp or at the end of preseason, that's when you need to get it done before week 1, and you can just go from there.
Yeah, definitely that. Yeah, I think it's the years that Baker said he wants. I think he wants a 4-year deal. Of course, with the money. I mean, he made some great points. He said the salary cap is always going up. And then you're talking about getting rid of another preseason game, have another regular season game. So that's more revenue for the NFL. So I don't know. We'll see what those numbers, but Greenberg and Light going to have to get in the lab and come to some type of conclusion either now or later.
And, let's be honest here. The Bucs are not crying poor. They've got a stadium that they have truly taken care of and has certainly done the job for them. People, crowds in Tampa Bay are always good. And so you're making money, and this franchise is valued. The Glazers, they own the Bucs, and they own a big time Premier League soccer league team,
Manchester,
in England. And those are 2 huge franchises. And, people forget, I get a kick out of people that are just dogging on the Glazers. And, they've had some problems. They've had their times when they haven't made the best decisions. But overall, go back to the days of Hugh Culverhouse and talk to me about ownership. That facility that they had right off the airport, forever, $1 place, that place was a mess. In fact, their weight room was outside.
No,
it was not it was not a well-run organization.
Wasn't up to par.
Hugh Culverhouse didn't care because he just took the money and shoved it in his wallet. So, give me a break with that. And, the Glazers have done a good job of taking this franchise. You've won Super Bowls. You've taken this franchise. You went out and got a Tom Brady at a time when you needed a quarterback, and he saw the value in this franchise. And he really gave this franchise credibility. You've got that. So just make things happen financially. And they do, and they will. And it's just, it's training camp, preseason type of talk. And, nothing's signed yet. But I'm sure at the time when it matters, going into the season, that I think Baker and Vita will be signed.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that. I know a lot of people are all doom and gloom, but it's good things to hear. People want to hear that positivity, want to bring those guys back home. I think they are cornerstones of this franchise. And to piggyback on what you said, the Glazers, absolutely. For a long time, the Glazers had the clip of being cheap. I think with the kids taking over after passing of their father, have done a great job with the team. I think they found a vision. I think they found a goal. I think they found guys within the organization. I'm talking about like Sheldon Quarles and all these other type of guys, Bruce Arians and guys that can be stewards to keeping this franchise being competitive and doing things the right way. And I think they've gone in that direction. That they've started to create a winning culture here in Tampa. And what I mean by that, I've said for years, is when you have a winning culture, you have a few things. It's not just the wins and losses. That's one thing. It's how you run your business. And the first thing is you want to have established coaches and established quarterbacks. Once you have that, now you're having your coaches getting hired elsewhere. You have a plethora of young minds coming in and stuff like that, and the Bucs are doing that. You've had several offensive coordinators come here and get head coaching. That's the kind of place you want to be in. People who want to come to this organization to either build their resume or become part of the legacy here. And the Bucs weren't that. Like you said, that for many years now, they were a laughing stock. You had to pay people astronomically to come to this dumpster fire in their minds to come and play for them or coach for them, or just come here to get a head coaching job and get fired the next year. And now you've passed all that and you're moving into the right direction. So yes, I agree with you. The Glazers do deserve some credit for what they've done over these decades.
Look at where they were when Culverhouse sold the team, where they were at that point and where they are now.
Ooh, night and day.
They are completely different franchises. In fact, you've got the greatest quarterback of all time wanting to play here. So there's a reason for that. And the stadium, with as old as it is still in great shape, is still used for Super Bowls, is still used for all kinds of big sporting events. So that, the city, the Tampa Bay area really has a jewel there with that stadium. Now, they want that stadium to be updated and that kind of stuff, and rightfully so. I get that. Mm-hmm. But, you're going to get your Super Bowls. You're going to get your NCAA, football championship games. You're going to get, those type of things with a good and updated stadium. That will happen. And the Glazers have done a good job of leading this and guiding this franchise. Look at their facility. Look at the stadium. Look at the people that are coming to play and coach here. And if they were where, nobody wanted to do that under Culverhouse.
No.
Nobody wanted to do that. So, in fact, I had a long talk with Mr. Culverhouse. Gosh, it was one of the last years he had the team. And we were on a team bus. And I was talking to him, and he maintained that and this was before Orlando joined the NBA, And he maintained that the Tampa Bay was going to get an NBA franchise. And all of our focus at the time was not just, on the NFL, but we really wanted a baseball team at that time. And he said, the baseball team will come, but the NBA is going to, that is something that Tampa Bay can get if they do the right things to make that happen. They didn't. And that, it was obvious that the NBA wanted to be down here in the Southeast and wanted to be in Florida. And so they eventually, the Miami Heat came in and they wanted Tampa Bay for that other franchise, Mr. Culverhouse was telling me, and they let it slip away. So, Tampa Bay, when the Tropicana Field was first built, and the first tenant was the Tampa Bay Storm, they were, I'll never forget, I was doing, their games on TV, and I'm walking into Tropicana Field one day, or back then it was the Florida Suncoast Dome, I think it was called. And there were people scalping Arena Football League tickets outside, and so the area showed that, hey, listen, we're crazy for sports, and we will jump aboard a winner, and we will jump aboard a successful franchise. And so Tampa Bay proved that. Now, recent years has the baseball has not drawn like it should have for a franchise like that. But I do believe that the Tampa Bay area is a good sports area, better than Miami, better than Orlando, more consistent. Yes, Miami had the Dolphins, but Miami had the Dolphins at a time when they were, first, under Don Shula, when they're among the best teams, among the best franchises in all of sports. So, that's a huge advantage. But Tampa Bay has shown that, the sporting public here will go out, and they do need to support the Rays better.
Yes.
And hopefully that will happen if they get a new stadium there. If they don't, they're going to pedal it away, and they'll never get another opportunity, for Major League Baseball. And when you have Major League Baseball, it is just a calling card that says, hey, we're a Major League city. We're Major League. We play with New York and the Cubs and, Red Sox and all that, kind of stuff. We can compete there. And if you lose that, you're never going to get it back. I grew up in Seattle, and I remember, when the first time Seattle got, any kind of a Major League franchise, and it was the Seattle Supersonics, and they drew well. They did well in Seattle. They didn't have the building they wanted, and they eventually lost it, and to Oklahoma City. And you're thinking, just a second. Okay, we got Seattle here, and you're losing a franchise to Oklahoma City. There's no comparison between Seattle and Oklahoma City. Well, they moved. They had success in Oklahoma City, but, they want basketball. The NBA wants basketball back in Seattle. So they will give them an expansion franchise because they know that Seattle certainly deserves that. But you're not going to get that same opportunity in baseball. And baseball will not return to the Tampa Bay area. And if you mess around and let it slip away, it's going to be something that you're definitely going to be sorry about, because I saw I attended so many baseball meetings and all that stuff with, Tampa Bay doing whatever it could to try to get a major league team. You're not going to get another chance. So this area has to support baseball much better. I remember my first year in 1988, my first spring training, a buddy came down and we wanted to go see a spring training game. And I hadn't called and set up passes or anything. We just tried to show up. And on any given night, you couldn't get a ticket to the Tigers or the Cardinals, or I think the Mets at that time were training here. You name it, you couldn't get a spring training ticket on any given night. It was that well supported. So you gotta do more with the Rays.
Yeah, baseball is one of the father sports or grandfather sports of all. It connects everybody. It's a world game. Football's starting to get in that direction, especially with the introduction of flag in the Olympics and things like that. But baseball, next to soccer, is a world game. So yes, I see where you're coming from with that. You're tapped into every city, every country with baseball, and this area does need to get a little better with it. Yeah, even myself, I can't remember. I think on one hand, I've been to Rays game. It's not because I don't like baseball. I'm part Latino, so baseball was actually my first sport I ever played before I played football. So yes, it is something that people in this area need to support a little bit more.
Yeah, and you're going to have to, or they're going to leave. They've got ownership that is, that's making eyes at Orlando, and believe me, Orlando can't be anywhere near the sports market.
No way.
And so hopefully they can make things happen. Get a ballpark. And God, Tampa's been.
Do you like it in Ybor? Sorry to cut you off. Do you like the location in Ybor? Do you like that? Like, you've been around this area, you could tell a little bit more than I can. What do you think about it being in that area? Is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Like, what do you think about that?
Well, Tampa has been beating the drum forever to put a stadium in Tampa. Okay, someplace in Tampa.
It makes sense.
It's the bigger of the two cities.
Right.
You've got more industry in Tampa than you do St. Pete. So St. Pete was just more aggressive in getting a ballpark and getting a stadium built. Okay, Tampa, you've been, crying for this for years. Now's your opportunity, and you're going to let that slip away and not. You've got look at Nashville. Look at, you can go all over the country with people, Portland, Oregon, with people that are dying for a major league franchise.
Right.
And they're not, they're going to make sure a stadium's built, and they want to be, one of those jewels, get one of those jewels of Major League Baseball. So, Tampa, you've been crying about it forever. Now's your opportunity, and you're just kind of, you're going to piddle fart the thing away if you're not careful. And I think this new ownership group has taken, and I would love to be the owner of the Rays, to have bought this franchise of the Rays, because look what Stu Sternberg, built, and they changed the way that you can build a franchise. And they've done it they've got one of the best minor league systems. They can't afford to really go out and, get big time free agents.
Nope.
But you can develop the people that you get. And that's what the Rays have really done well. They can do it. They will hopefully continue to do it because you still have the people in place. And Sternberg did a great job of making sure that franchise, as far as, the baseball side, building that and making that successful. So the work has been done. The hard work has been done. So build your ballpark. You'll never have to worry about it again for 30 years, and, make this thing happen. And the city of Tampa, you've been crying about it forever. Now's your opportunity, and don't let it slip away.
Definitely that. It's just so wild to be in Florida with the heat and everything, and you have we're talking about baseball struggling with that, but your hockey fans here are crazy. It's like you had two of the best franchises in Florida with the Panthers and the Lightning, and you get that kind of support in a hot state for hockey. That's a Canadian game. I just found that so different. I'll call it different that it's like that in Florida with your hockey teams.
And Tropicana Field at that time, was the home of the Lightning there while they were getting ready for another, to build an arena in Tampa. And, some of the biggest attendance figures in NHL history came right here in Tampa. You came right here in St. Pete at the Dome. So the people are here. Franchises can be successful here because this is a good sports area. And every opportunity that they get, the NCAA basketball tournament has come here. Final Four. I mean, you can go on down the line, and it's because this is a great sports market, but it could be even better. And if you let a Major League Baseball franchise slip through your fingers, you will regret it forever.
Absolutely. You don't want to do that. You don't want to be that trying to play catch up. You got it in your hands now. So yeah, I appreciate the history lesson. And you guys, you and Mike, and you guys have been around for all these years. They got to watch all this stuff flourish and do all this stuff. You guys were a part of all that. And like I said, it's cool. I just love hearing those stories and stuff like that.
Well, it was, this area was just begging for a Major League Baseball and was willing to do whatever it took. And now that they've got it, they've been lazy as far as support is concerned, especially for the Rays. And to me, there's no excuse for that. Bottom line, this baseball with spring training here, baseball is part of our fabric. And you don't let that stuff slip out of your fingers. So you come to terms with the new ownership group, find a way to get a chance. Hey, if it were me and I had the wherewithal to own a Major League Baseball team, my dream would be I'll build my own damn stadium. I'll build it where I want. I will get every revenue stream I possibly can out of that stadium. And I own it. I get the parking. I get the concessions. I get all of that stuff. And it would be one of the most profitable franchises in all of sports, because I would own that building, and I would make it busy every single week between concerts, and whatever
events,
events, and it's more than enough to pay yourself. But I get the feeling that if I did that and my other fellow owners in Major League Baseball would get pissed off at me because, they're going, hey, listen, we're looking for public help to get these stadiums built, and here you build your own and you're making us look bad here. Well, I'd say to hell with it. I want the stadium where I want it. I will make it possible for parking and concessions and everything that goes with it. All that stuff will go into my pocket, not just a percentage. I won't have to pay anything to, Pinellas or Hillsborough County, because I'll own it. I'll own the land. I'll own the building, and anything I want to put in that stadium, I will. And I will get the profits from it. And I am, if someone did that with the stadium, they'd be, they would be ultra successful. And I know, it's not easy. But again, if you're, some of these owners have $10 billion or, whatever. And they just, they're good businessmen for a reason. Yeah. So they don't want to give up their money for a building to pay for a building. Okay. But, the only time that a lot of these franchises actually get the value out of that franchise is when they sell it. If you own your own building and you build it yourself, you're going to be making profits fairly soon. And that money you put into the stadium, you're going to get back every single year. You don't have to wait to sell it in order to see, all the gold from there. So that's just me. I would so build my own stadium and say,
Keck Stadium.
To you. And come play, come watch my team and watch my NCAA Final Four and watch my concerts and all that stuff. And, have your hot dog and concessions and, buy a new, jersey and all that kind of stuff. And all that stuff would go into my pocket. I wouldn't have to share
it. Hey, make it happen now. Speaking to existence. That was great. Back on the preseason, I already know who you think rose in this game. Obviously, it was Daniels. Do you think anybody else, or do you think anybody else lessened their value in this game? I know I got one guy, and I got a guy who did well.
Well, you tell me.
You want me to go first? All right. First guy I thought did well, as I call him the Jack. What's his name? Jack Bynum. Jack Bynum. How you pronounce this boy's name? I got it in here. Give me a second. This is Jack Pineberg out of LSU. Mm-hmm. Guy had 2 sacks in this game, and I got one of them right here. And take the audio out. Great move here from LSU. He's down there at 58. Come down here, lean, push, pull, get through. That's a sack. That was one or 2 sacks that he had. I thought he played really well that last night. I think he can do something. I watched his tape at LSU. The thing I like about him, watching him from LSU to that, especially at LSU, he was great against the option, which tells me that he's fundamentally sound. He follows his responsibilities and does his job, and he makes plays in the backfield. And a guy that does his job and does his assignment or play in the league a very long time, you'll make plays doing what you're supposed to do. I'd like to see him again coming next week against the Chiefs to see if he can do that. And the guy that I thought that dropped some value a little bit is Braswell. Braswell has not done anything with his second-round pick. If Pyburn plays like that again, or this whole preseason, I think Braswell might be traded or might be out of a job. I don't know if they're going to hold on to. He's just produced nothing. It's been one move the entire time. It's been speed rush upfield, and there's no counter move. There's no spin back inside. There's no bend the corner. There's just none of that with him. It's just speed rush upfield. It's all or nothing. That's the 2 I got right there.
I agree with you on Braswell, especially. Yeah. When the Bucs drafted him, I thought it was a great move because I watched him at Alabama and had the success that he had at Alabama, and I thought that's a good pick. But again, he hasn't lived up to that at all. And I think once his rookie deal's got to be coming up here pretty quick.
Yeah.
And so if he doesn't do it this year, the Bucs will cut him, and he'll have to try to make it with somebody else. I was just, again, my opinion was tempered so much by who they're playing. And I'm going to be a little more interested in watching this week when they play Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's see what Daniels can do against Kansas City. And again, I would hope what they do is Baker will do a series or 2, come out, and you keep the starters in and you put Daniels in with the starters and see what can happen. You've seen what he can do when it's scrubs against scrubs. Now let's see when he's got some talent around him. Let's see what he can do. And because, if you can get a kid like that has success and has shown he can play and he can, the spotlight can be on him and he can still make plays. That's why you have a scouting staff. That's why, you do so much to look for talent around the league, and you got a guy at a premium position to come in. And again, he played at Kansas, so it's not like he was playing a Division III school at a Division III school. He's playing big time football and had good numbers, and he showed what he can do here against the Jets.
Yeah, and he threw a lot of passes to Bucs 7th round draft pick Bauer Sharp. Threw a lot of passes to him. Another LSU kid, as I mentioned earlier, by Pyburn. Threw a lot of passes to Sharp. It was good to see him make some case. He had one bonehead drop. Otherwise, now he's pretty sharp with his hands. That's a position I think the Bucs need to try to get better at as tight end. I know they signed Cade Otton to an extension. I'd like to see more production at a tight end position. Because I don't know, the Bucs just really haven't had a Pro Bowl. You would probably answer that before I do. When's the last time they've had a Pro Bowl tight end? Can you remember? Yeah.
It's been a while. The tight end that was here when I first got here was Ron Hall, and he was a good, solid tight end, but he wasn't, the big time tight end.
Right.
I moved out to Tampa from San Diego, so I was used to seeing Kellen Winslow. Kellen Winslow could play.
That's that dude.
And Dan Fouts lived on Kellen Winslow. So Cade Otton just isn't Kellen Winslow. But then not a whole lot of people are.
No.
And so another thing that I'm I now live in Northern California outside Sacramento. And this is big 49ers territory. And so seeing the Niners end up getting Mike Evans, I think, is really sad for the Bucs, in that if there's anybody that deserved to be a Buccaneer for as long as he wanted to be a Buccaneer, it's Mike Evans, because he had done so much for this franchise, especially at a time when,
had nothing.
There wasn't much here. So I was sad to see that situation happen, that they couldn't come together on that. But I know the Niners are, excited about having Mike Evans, but he's been hurt already in training camp. And I'm just hoping he'll be healthy. He's been hurt before. He's battled injuries, but he's always come back and has made incredible strides and made big plays. He had all those 1,000-yard seasons, to start a career. And if there's anyone that should still be a Buccaneer, it is Mike Evans.
I agree. I don't think anybody will disagree with you with that. He's Mr. Buccaneer damn near almost. I'm sure he was disappointed with the injuries and he couldn't get the 1,000 yards. So couldn't get that and keep that going. So I figured he'd move on and try something new. Whatever. I have no ill will against him. He's earned the right to do whatever he wants to do. I really have no ill will.
And he'll be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
And
I wish the best for him. Healthy season. Looking forward to watching him play. I think most of the fans are on the same, but I don't think I think people are upset. I don't think they're mad at him. It's his choice. He can do what he wants. He's earned the right.
Absolutely.
Earned the right. I think we got pretty much everything. Al, is there anything else you really want to tap in on?
No, it's just good talking to you. Good seeing you. And I'm glad, like you, the football season is finally here. And I'm watching every Sunday and looking forward to it. Again, I'm in Sacramento, which is, part Raiders fans, part San Francisco fans. And so, I walk around in my, in Tampa Bay Bucs gear, and they're looking at me like, what are you, what are you doing that for?
Go get you a Kings jersey, man. Go get you a Kings jersey.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Al, appreciate you jumping on. I'm sure we'll do this again when more news and stuff comes out. Let's see how this preseason plays out. Looking forward to next week. Like you said, I hope they listen to us and let Daniels get in there, get a spin against the ones in Kansas City, really see what this kid got. And because the third preseason game is pretty much for the guys to put the final roster spot. So this next one is, and it's at home, by the way. It's in Tampa too, so they ain't got to go far. They ain't got to go to Kansas City. That's it. We tapped in and everything. I'm glad you guys enjoyed this. You get to see a legend, Al Keck, cover this team for decades, and hope you guys love it. Join, put your comments, concerns, questions, what you like, what you didn't like, and we'll bring more to you. And I'll end this as we always do. You're the master of everything. What you do with your life, what you do is entirely up to you. See you guys next time. Peace.
Yeah. Welcome to the block where the real ones speak. Sports Talk 49, no cap, no weak. Real facts, strip the fluff, no spin. If it's hot in the league, yeah, we tap right in. Overreaction, yeah, we lean all in. One play, one take, let the chaos begin. From the mic to the screen, bringing truth, no fantasy. Hosted by Blake Anthony, voice of the fan, no fallacy. Fans yelling loud, opinions collide. Love it or hate it, ain't nowhere to hide. You're the master of life, how you use it is key. Sports Talk 49.